Welcome back to the Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard, founder and managing director of The Sales Doctor. I'm joined today by a friend that I haven't seen in nearly 30 years, and I'm so grateful that he's joined me today. I'm joined by Richard Morley-Kirk. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Richard. He's currently based in Dubai, where he's now the COO of a number of brands owned by one of Middle East's largest influencers, Joelle Mardinian. Following the recent founder's exit of his own eyelash brand, Pinky Goat, which, by the way, was super successful, and he managed to grow that to over 3,500 international locations. I mean, if that isn't a super achievement, then I don't know what is. He's been working internationally now for almost 25 years, since his days working with me at Body Shop International, where he was responsible for the Nordic region. Since he left the Body Shop, he's worked and lived in Kuwait, Poland, Lebanon, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, mainly for large multi-brand retailers. So he's got a retail pedigree and a distribution pedigree. And he's also married with one daughter and one dog. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you. It's great to be on here. I've been following your podcast for many years now, so it's great to actually spend some time with you. Even though we haven't met for 25 years or almost 30 years, it sounds far too long.
I know, that is crazy, but it is, yeah, it's closer to 30, unfortunately, for both of us, I guess. I mean, as we sort of said, it's been about that long since we've even spoken, which is crazy. Since our days together at the Body Shop International, you've achieved a lot. Obviously, creating, selling businesses, moving from, the UK to Dubai, getting married, becoming a dad. What else have I missed?
Well, I'd like to say it was all part of some well thought out plan, which was beautifully delivered and wonderfully executed. And I somehow got to Dubai. Unfortunately, it wasn't. The steps along the way have been many. And I think when you look back, you wonder how you actually got there and how you achieved things. But I think you deal with things, what's thrown at you. Because after leaving the Body Shop, which was a fantastic time, and I remember fondly our times together there, I did a quick sort of swerve and ended up going to gaming for a while. Casinos and bingo of all things, which was probably the ultimate. Yeah, I spent 3 years in bingo clubs and casinos. I was the MD of the Gibraltar Casino, which is probably the ultimate selling business, because you're selling actually a product which isn't a product. You're getting people to decide to come to you to lose money. And really, that is what it's about. And that's when I almost learned the power of data, because data in bingo clubs in those days was amazing. We knew which people would come in every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. We tracked them, and if suddenly they didn't turn up on a Wednesday, they were lapsed, and we'd write to them. And they were so advanced back in those days, and we're talking sort of 20 odd years ago almost, but they were tracking their customers and analysing who responded to certain promotions, to mail outs, who didn't come in, who responded to the free fish and chips, who responded to a discount. And we had these tiny little groups of people, but that's who we marketed. And I think it's a wonderful business to have got in, because it really is the ultimate selling gig, you could almost say. And, if you do it well, you drive volumes. So I did that for over 3 years. And then our old boss in the Body Shop said, I'm now in Kuwait, come and join me. I've got something good happening out here. So I sort of got on the plane and flew to Kuwait. Sort of 2 weeks later, I actually moved literally into Kuwait and spent 5 years there in the end, running, going in these premium cosmetics for a big retailer across the Middle East, which was fabulous fun. And then, once again, curveball time came when someone said, Richard, do you fancy going to Russia? So I said, okay. So he said, come and have an interview. So I took the plane, and the company was actually based, their head office, in Poland. So they said, look, come to Poland first, and then after Poland, you can fly to Russia to see the team there. I said, perfect. And I got to Poland, and the company had a number of different arms. And I met the chairman of a company called Empik, which this group owned. And he interviewed me, and we got on really well. He says, at the end of it, I'm cancelling your flight to Russia. I said, pardon? Yep, you're not going to Russia. I said, why not? He goes, oh, you're going to spend the rest of the day with me here. You'll come and meet my team tomorrow in Poland, and you're going to come to work for me in Poland. So I ended up going to work running his stores in Poland for 3 years, doing a crash course in Polish, which I was actually fluent in Polish after 3 years. I was the
wow.
It was brilliant. I was taking conferences in Polish, which today I think I've forgotten all of it. And that was a wonderful gig, because that was it was a company called Empik, which has a bit like, I'm not sure if you know, someone like Virgin or somewhere, where we used to sell multimedia, books, we sold newspapers, art and pap, all the departments which were under pressure at the time, because they were like dead categories. So he was saying, look, how do we stay relevant? Because our business is going down. We need to bring somebody in to try and turn it around, because this was a heritage company. Normally in Poland, if you mention the word Empik, the Poles, who I love the Poles, they get all teary-eyed when you mention Empik, because it brings out the passion in them. As a company, it's a bit like to the British Marks and Spencer. To the Polish, it's Empik. So when you work with them, you take their heritage in your hand, and you have to hold it very, very, very closely. But a wonderful company. And we set about trying to turn it around to stay relevant. And I think that was a wonderful challenge, because it was about good basic retailing. I used to say it's the BNP strategy, which actually worked in Polish. Bestsellers, new lines, and promotions. And in Polish, it was bestsellery, nowości, promocja. It worked. So my English saying translated very nicely into Poland. And everything we did, we became obsessed with BNP. That was going to be our obsession for turning around the business, focusing on the bestsellers, the new lines and promotions, because that will deliver us 80 or 90% of our profits. The rest is all just padding. And it was a fantastic time. Fast forward 3 years, the business was good. I was married then, daughter, and my wife said, can we go back? Well, she wanted to go to Lebanon. Let's take a brand and open a franchise. So we took a cosmetics brand called Ingrid. I think Ingrid are in Australia. So we took the franchise for Lebanon. So he said, great. And I met the owner, which is fabulous. I wrote to him to say, can I have your franchise? And he said, I'm going to be in New York. Let's have a meeting. So I thought, very strange place to meet. So we flew off to New York, met him, wonderful guy. And he said, why should I take you on? And I said, I'm going to build you a brand. And we agreed everything. He said also, whereabouts in the US do you live? I said, I don't. I live in Warsaw. He said, well, I flew out of Warsaw yesterday. I said, well, you're a Polish brand. I was expecting our meeting to have been actually in Warsaw, but we'd both flown to New York for the meeting. But anyway, we took the brand. We set up a store. We decided to put in a salon underneath it. Fabulous. And then we opened. We had the Polish ambassador opening it up, and off we went, which is going to be fabulous. Unfortunately, 1 week later, the Syrian war started, which put a bit of pressure on the store. So we had guards outside, we had soldiers in the street, and most of the Middle East visitors who were in Lebanon and Beirut at the time weren't there. So I did a very quick about turn, left my wife to run the business, and I went to CIS to run a chain of stores there. They had about 30 brands, from Zara, you name it, we had every brand. And I was head of brands for them. Wow. Did that for a couple of years, and then I decided I should get a real job. So we went to KSA, and we sold the business in Lebanon. Luckily, we're very lucky to get out, and the business is still there today, which is fabulous. But and whilst we were in KSA, I was country manager for a retailer there. My wife decided to open up a new business, an online business, which was going to be accessories and eyelashes. We came up with the name Pinky Goat. She bought the stocks of accessories and eyelashes. She thought, it's a small online business. And then what was quite interesting was, 3 days before we were about to launch, we'd had the website designed. Fantastic, looked good. Got all this product. And in those days, I mean, it was all Alibaba, and oh my goodness, and we'd all sort of try to do branding. It wasn't brilliant, but it was satisfactory, fit for purpose. And she said, something's wrong. You can't do everything. We're doing accessories and eyelashes. We're not going to be known for anything. I don't want to do accessories. My belief is the market is right for eyelashes. I understand the market for eyelashes. There's a need for eyelashes, and we can be good at that. We can be professional in one category rather than spread ourselves over these various categories. So even though we had all the stock, we had the website set up, she said no. So literally she opened with only 4 SKUs of eyelashes, 4 SKUs. And we had boxes and boxes of accessories. Boxes. We had a warehouse, not a warehouse. We had loads of accessories. But sometimes you've got to do what you think actually is right, and be good at something and do it properly. You can't try and be everything to everybody. You've got to have a meaning in a category and have real ownership of that space. And that's what we decided we're going to be. We're going to be the professional eyelash brand. And by doing that, we found what was going to be our USP. And I think understanding your USP is probably the most important thing of having a brand. Because you need to know that and go back to it. And you go back to it again. And everything you do is about your USPs. If you do not know your USPs, if a buyer says, what are your USPs? If you cannot give that story clearly and concisely, you shouldn't be in the game, because that is your reason for living. That is how you will that's how you'll differentiate you from thousands of brands. And I always say, buyers have got a choice. They have a choice to take your brand or 1,000 other brands. Unless you have a clear USP, why are they deciding to give you the chance? Because they don't even know you. You know, you've got all that way, you've managed to get in front of them, and then you blow your chance because you don't really understand what you're trying to sell. So we were very clear from the start what our USPs were going to be for Pinky Goat, but what we didn't know was actually what it was going to be. We launched the brand. She launched it, and, you know, she wasn't an influencer at the time. More and more today, people say, oh, unless you're an influencer with 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million people, you can't make a brand. Well, you can, but you've got to understand how you're going to go to market. And her approach at the time was to work with makeup artists, because she understood what they wanted. We sent products out to them, and we said, just try this, very nicely. And they decided to post, and this is at the early days of sort of, in many cases, social media. But that's what we did. And literally, we sold out online within a week. And we were saying, we have to reorder. We hadn't thought about that. It was almost like a one-off thing we were buying. We hadn't planned it to be a business. I was still working for my company, This was just literally something she was doing from the sofa in Riyadh. And then, perhaps this could be a real business. So at that point, we almost said, we need to plan this. Because there was no great big plan at the start. We hadn't planned to be international. We hadn't planned to do anything. We just suddenly decided to do this website. So here we were, suddenly having people calling us. We're thinking, what do we do? So we all had three different email addresses. So I was going to be sales. I was Richard at sales. I was also somebody called, I think I was Sam as well, and somebody else. And I would say, I'm putting Sam on copy, and they'll get back to you about our marketing calendar. We had to pretend that we were a big company because suddenly people were talking to us.
Yes.
And we had to be uber professional because you can't say we're working from a sofa in Riyadh. You can't. There's an expectation. And we suddenly, I said, look, let's try for a store. And I knew from my days in Kuwait, a lot of the distributors. So I spoke to one and said, look, can you give us a store trial? Give it a trial. He goes, but will it sell? I said, trust me. And I went through the presentation. I had my sales pitch, and he goes, okay. And literally it took off. Suddenly the brand just took off. From 2 stores, they gave us 10 stores, 10 stores to 50 stores. Then it just started to snowball. And we were still literally living it in Kuwait. So we said, look, we need to move to the UAE. We have to move to the UAE to be based there to run a business. At the time, Saudi wasn't like it is today. Saudi, you can run a great business from Saudi today. Perhaps 10 years ago, it wasn't the place. You had to be UAE-centric. So we moved to UAE, and I thought, oh my God, I need to get another job. How will I get a job in UAE? People think I'm a Saudi man. And once you get the Saudi, people don't want to lose you because you can cope in the Saudi marketplace. So by pure coincidence, that I think on Friday, was it Thursday, we decided we need to move to the UAE. On the Friday, I got a phone call saying, do you want to have a company interview? How do I fancy working in the UAE? I thought, that's interesting. A big group called Landmark Group. Can you come on Monday? I thought, oh, okay. So out of nowhere, this job came. And my first interview was actually with the owner. It's like, this is unheard of. You don't meet the owner at your first interview. Yeah. And she offered me the job there and then. So it's one of those lovely things of coincidences. And I told her we had this sideline thing. She said, no problem. I want people on board who are thinking outside the box. So we moved, literally, I think it took us about 8 weeks. I had to work notice periods and sort things out. And we moved to the UAE and started the real journey on Pinky Goat. And I think about a year and a half later, I went full-time into the business because we was just starting on the international move out. And we were talking to people like the Superdrugs in the UK, and it was just building then. And we were still a very small team. We were lean and mean, but our team, I think, surrounding yourself with great people.
Yes.
And it's not about numbers, it's great people. And, I would employ any of my team always. They are so good. Everyone needs to do everyone else's job. So if someone's not in, someone else can do it. It's not about being an admin person. No, you're also able to do invoices. You can do this. You can talk to the customer. You can talk to anything. Go to the store, sell. If you've got half an hour, sell. Go to a shop. And I think we created a culture within Pinky Goat, within our team of, the answer is yes. Now what's the question? Which one of my most important things for the team to always have that. And then it was literally be obsessed with being the best at things. And that was what we did as a brand. They were always, suppliers and customers, amazed how fast we reacted. We got an email, it would be turned around. You don't sit and wait. We don't have weekends. You just, before you go to bed, you check. In the morning, first thing you do, you check. You just have to get on top. So the buyers love that. the buyers love that. They want people to respond to them. And I think that the whole philosophy of, the answer is yes, now ask me the question, that really set the tone for the business and sort of got us on the journey for Pinky Goat.
That's absolutely extraordinary. I want to pull a little bit of that apart because there was so much there, but I've made a few notes. If we go, before we talk about the Pinky Goat story, because there's a lot I think that the listeners can really learn about some of the things that you've talked about. I mean, I love that. The answer's yes. Now ask me the question, and being obsessed with being the best. I love that. And everyone being able to do everyone else's job. What a culture. But if we go back a little bit, you know how you talked, we'll go back to come forward. So if we go back to, your days working in gaming, you talked about, the richness of data, because I suspect that just that education alone would have given you, that would have stayed in, knowing you stayed in that head of yours, that brain going, I'm going to use something like that. But if we go back to when, to the time and to the degree that they had insight about their customers, when they came in, when they didn't come in, when they came in, what they used, what they purchased, what they liked, what they didn't like, how was that data captured back then?
It was very simple at the time, but it evolved very quickly. Every time someone came into the club, of course, they sign in. So we knew they'd come in. If we take the bingo club side, first of it, we knew they'd come for a certain session. And we knew what day they came. And we could search the system and say, tell me all the people who have come for the last 2 Wednesdays, but haven't been on a Thursday. And you could interrogate the system, and it would give you these small little groups of people. And some of them we get, literally, we were doing at the time in those days there were mail mergers. We'd mail merge groups of like 10 people and 5 people. And you start to really understand what are the triggers for each customer. Because if I know which people respond to certain promotions, actually, you can say, okay, I know 50 people will always come when I do a special offer on a food offer. Great. If I want to create an event, I'm going to do this food offer, and I'll tell these people about it because I know they'll respond to it. Yes. So, and it's then also knowing how often to speak to these people, because what you can't do is always, I get it now, some companies, as soon as you get their email addresses, they bombard you with these non-stop messages, and they're adding no value to my life. It's someone doing a tick box exercise, and you get the same type of mail out once a month. You think, oh God, someone's just doing their once a month mail out. Oh yes, I'm on someone's newsletter. It's adding no value to anybody, but someone's got a job to do a monthly newsletter for a company. But what we were doing was making sure we were actually sending stuff to people we thought we were genuinely interested in, and we knew that because we were monitoring the responses to that. And then if they didn't respond, they get a different type of promotion. And if they didn't respond to that, we'll get another one. And then they become, so we tried different things to engage properly with people. And it's a wonderful, honestly, you sometimes, especially in retail, we look at things too big. We look at things in massive groups, when actually smaller groups are actually what it's all about. Because if you know those small groups and they add them together, not everyone's the same customer. I think that's what it is. There are groups of customers, and I think that's what they were very good at, was getting to understand the groups of customers.
Do you know, I think we live in an age where we're so data rich, but I would perhaps question whether some businesses that have access to quite significant and detailed information about their customer base, whether they're really using that to then target people in a meaningful and personal way, or whether they're just sort of capturing it for the sake of capturing it because they can, because they've got access to it. You know, I mean, there are some big box retailers that I know that have that they belong to a big group, and then, you know, there's a pass that, you know, they can capture. But I just wonder how well they're using that to enhance the experience of the customer rather than just, you know, how can we benefit alone? Because what I'm hearing you say is, okay, yes, obviously there's something in it, you know, for the business, but you're also thinking about what's going to matter for the customer. You're also thinking about what's going to be meaningful for that customer, what they might like, you know, if they only knew about it.
Yeah, I think there are so many businesses now, they do into sheep dipping. They just do bits of process. It's a bit like going to a restaurant. When someone comes and says, everything okay? They're not genuinely wanting to get any feedback. They're ticking a box. And then at the end of it, one day later, you get, how did we do? Fill in from 5 to 10. And that's it. But actually, when you genuinely get wonderful service and the manager or the owner, I mean, you never see owners ever. How many restaurants have you ever been to where you've actually met the owner or the manager? Hardly ever. People don't engage properly and say, really, you know, apart from saying, is everything okay? They don't say, oh, it's great to see you again. There's a coffee place near me. I've been going in there literally every day for a year. And every time they wait for me to tell them what I want. It's like, at what point do you not know? What's your name? The same as yesterday. You know, at some point you've got to engage them in a different way. Because if you do that, you've got more chance. And I think the difference between success and failure is so small. It is the little things. And if those little things do add up. And I think we were very lucky that we were able, it wasn't perhaps as competitive as it was now. You know, everyone's trying to do brands now. You know, every day I hear people, oh yes, what's your sideline? It's almost like a normal conversation nowadays. What's your sideline? Unless you've got a sideline, you're not doing your life right. You know, so everyone's trying to find ways to make money. But actually, you've got to really understand how you can make the difference and be different. And that's genuinely trying to engage your customer. And every day. And the customer isn't always just the end customer. The customer for me would be the buyer. The buyer. Those buyers are the most important people in your life.
Absolutely.
And even if you think they are not, I mean, some of the buyers are straight from school, they don't know life, they don't know business, but they've got the job title buyer, and those people have got the choice of life or death over your brand. Forget that at your peril. And I had an expression, if you don't mind me saying, never piss off the buyers. Rule number one, never. You know, don't annoy them. Rule number one. Speak to somebody else if there's an issue, but never involve the actual buyer. They don't want to know that you bring issues. Speak to their logistics department, speak to their accounting department. Only involve the buyer when you really need to, because those minutes and seconds and hours you spend with them are priceless. Because they have the choice. As I say, they have the choice of life or death over you. And that relationship with the buyer will make or break your brand. Absolutely. And that is the difference. It's down to people at the end of the day. I know people who have got fabulous brands. But they don't know how to get into stores. They don't know how to engage people. They never will. But it's those relationship pieces. And I always say, think like the buyer. Think like the buyer. What does the buyer go through in making the decisions? You know, space in retail stores is finite. They can't just put your brand in. They've got 2 bays. Each bay is, there's room for 6 SKUs across, 8 shelves down. They've got 48 SKUs in total. If you go and say, right, I've got a range of 24 SKUs, please put them all in, they're going to say, excuse me, who am I going to take out to put you in? I can't make my store any bigger. Space is finite. So you've got to think from how they have to do their job. How are they rewarded? How are they bonused? Are they bonused on margin? Are they bonused on selling marketing space? How are they being bonused? Because different buyers get bonused in different ways. And I say that this year. Someone I say, so what's your bonus this year? Are you being bonused on GP? Will you be coming after more marketing spend? You need to understand how they are being bonused, because because if they're not going to be bonused on GP, you won't be under pressure on GP, but they might be after some marketing contribution or things like that. So it's really important to think like the buyer, and that's, for us, we were very, very lucky. I think we've met some great buyers from some very big companies, and I think when you get to see them, you've got to really make those opportunities work, because it's very hard to get in front of people. And that's even nowadays to even get a distributor, not a buyer, because you have to decide your route to market. So what will your route to market be? I think we started, our route to market was online. Well, actually making a business, when we first started, our online business was fabulous. But the online space became more and more competitive. It wasn't cost effective. Unless you're on a multi-platform, it's difficult to have your own online site. Customers don't want to go onto one individual site to buy your product unless you've got something really, really special. You've got to be somewhere else. And people spend thousands making these beautiful websites. But I'm sorry, you're not going to drive $20,000 a week necessarily from your little website, because you're in the wrong place. People don't want to shop there anymore. They might have done that 20 years ago, or when they've got something really special. But for us, our online site went down, but our total online went up because we started being on other people's platforms.
That's right, exactly.
I would rather they were on the platform of, someone came onto pinkygoat.com, and the landing, they'd say, where were you from? Oh, they're from the UK. Well, I couldn't send stock from Dubai to the UK. It would take me 3 or 4 days, cost me a fortune, upset the customer if they had to pay extra duties, all those things. So if they came onto my website, they were dropped automatically on the landing page of Superdrug, on the Pinky Goat side. When someone came from South Africa, it would suddenly drop them on the Pinky Goat site of Clicks Pharmacy in their chain. So the retailer were happy. I was giving them more business. The customers were happy. They're getting product quick and fast. I was happy. I wasn't having to deal with the hassle. And online is a hassle. To do it beautifully is an absolute hassle. And to make money out of online is very difficult. Especially in some markets are different, I'm sure. Some markets, they're very cost efficient, delivery systems, and it can work. But a lot of markets, like the Middle East, it's not easy to make a lot of money online. You have to have brick and mortar. You have to have other retailers. Just doing one route to market, if you want to be a big brand, won't deliver you necessarily the incomes you need. And we learn that. And we say, people always said, oh, we're an online player. Yes, we are. But our money was brick and mortar. Unashamedly brick and mortar. We focus all my energy on brick and mortar. And it's weird. People said, God, you aren't online on all these websites. I said, not yet. In fact, they were the easy bits. Everyone did the easy bits first. We probably did the hard bit first, which was retail. We got into brick and mortar first. And that was our push, because the volumes, But if you get a retailer with 400 or 500 stores, it's the volume.
But also, Richard, you played to your strengths. So, I mean, you understood. I mean, you've got a retail pedigree, as you described, as you were sort of talking through your career, you understand, how retail works. You understand the drivers behind good retail. You know how you said before about, the space, the return on square meterage, for example, and just making sure that people understand how to get the best return. And you're understanding, like, what did you say? Think like a buyer. You think like a buyer, you think like a retailer, you think about the people there, and you played to those strengths. I'm interested if you can, you talked about the people aspect. You talked about, if you want to get it, your product distributed, it's all about relationships. And you said, don't piss off the buyer. And you got to think like the buyer. And in order to think like the buyer, you need to understand the buyer. Tell me though, you're across, so many different markets. It's extraordinary. Tell me what the differences were and how you managed to kind of navigate all of those international markets. Did your retail career and just the wide variety of countries that you'd worked in help with that? What was some of the secret sauce within that distribution network?
Yeah, I think at first my view was to try and go direct to big retailers.
Okay.
Because of course, there's two ways of going into retail. It's either via distributor or via direct to retail. And I think one of the other important things is, as if you have a brand, you need to understand the pricing structure.
Yes.
The pricing structure is everything. And when you develop a brand, you need to start off understanding the first point is what will be the selling price. You need to understand that, because that will drive your buying price or how much you've got to play with.
Yes.
I know an example. I have a friend of mine. I got a call a while ago saying, can I help her get her brand into stores? She'd gone on, she developed a range. They saw her coming, the factory, told her that MOQs were 10,000 or 5,000. She'd bought all this stock, paid a fortune, got it all landed, and then said, how do I sell it? And I said, well, how much did you pay for it? And she told me the cost. I said, oh, what's your retail price going to be? I said, well, it doesn't work. The price structure doesn't work like that. If you're paying more than 10 or 12% or whatever of your base product, it won't work. And she paid so much money and she said, can I sell it? I said, no, because you've got to understand one or two of the basics. And I think we started off, and I didn't really understand the strengths or not of distributors or direct to retail. And I think for anyone with a brand, that's the starting point.
Okay.
What are the benefits? I think if you go with a distributor, in theory, they understand the market. They have the ability to get you into a broad number of retailers or online, if they're good. And if they want you, you've got to sell into to a distributor. Distributors have a choice as well, which brand they take. It's an investment from them. So getting into a distributor is not easy, It's a sales pitch to them.
Yes.
And of course, they take a large margin for their expertise. So you need to ensure this pricing structure works for what you're buying, what you're margining, what you're selling. They'll then be selling into the retailer who wants, retailer margins are extortionate nowadays. I think one of the worst things to come out of COVID was that retailers decided they had to make more money after COVID, and up went all their charges, and the days of 30 and 35% margins were suddenly 50%. Oh, we want 55%. We want 60%. The whole price structure changed post-COVID. So I think for us, I started off going direct to retail, which in hindsight, I should have gone with distributors.
Okay.
I think distributors, if you have good ones, they allow you to get to market quick. They understand how the market works. If they have multiple brands, they also have multiple connections. connections with influencers, connections with retailers, and they can move faster. For me to say, okay, I want to go into Kmart in Australia. Well, how do you do that? Well, I go on the old-fashioned way. You go on LinkedIn and you find somebody and you send boxes and all this. They're very hard to get to anybody to influence them. You've got to be really creative and shock them with your products. A distributor can often they can have those meetings. They've already got the connection. They can just present your brand.
Yes.
But of course, it comes at a cost.
Yes.
There's one particular market, South Africa, where there's one dominant retailer. I decided, well, if I got that retailer, that would work. So Clicks in South Africa, I went direct to them. And all the way through, we're still direct to, I think they're still being sourced, provided directly. And it can work. But I think to build an international brand, and hopefully potentially a global brand, you've got to work with distributors, because to understand each market, to have the level of detail, and it is competitive. As I want space, someone else wants my space. Everyone's getting in. And some people are paying money under the table for more marketing. They're throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some brands don't think commercially. Buyers, unfortunately, can get influenced. It's not always on performance. They get influenced depending on what are their motivations. And suddenly, someone offered them a large amount of cash towards marketing. Well, if that's what they have to bring in to get their bonus, and one brand offers them a couple of $100,000, you can't compete. So distributors, hopefully, distributors, if they're good, can really maintain those relationships, which you can't always when you're sat in an office in Dubai, no matter how many times you get on a plane and go and see them. And that's what's important. But I think a good distributor, and I think it's having those selling tools to help the distributor to sell. And I think that's probably one of the key things I would say for anyone with a brand. You've got to have the selling toolkit. You don't have to develop the brand fully to sell. You don't have to have a warehouse full of stock first to sell. What you have to do is go and present in a way, I call them my salesman boxes. You have the brand pack, you have some samples. Even if I have to pay a lot of money to get a few samples made, I will then present to them with the marketing plan what we're going to do, and say, we're launching in 3 months. Please sign here. But I don't have a warehouse. I haven't even started production yet. I'm not going to start production until I get some buy-in. So you have to, in some cases, people can't afford to have warehouses full of stock. If perhaps you have a range of 10 SKUs and the buyers only want 8 SKUs. What do you do with the other 2 SKUs where you've got 10,000 pieces of each? It's not going to work. So I think for anyone starting a brand, you've got to go in to sell first, sell the vision, have a great sales pitch, superimpose how your product will look on that particular retailer's shelves. Show them how it will look on those particular shelves. Let them see you've done the effort. Let them see how it will look on shelf. Let them see your marketing plan. Let them, I think the more they see that you understand retail, you're going to give them something which they can't get from another brand. This is the USP. Why should I put you in my store? Well, good question. Let me tell you. Bam. And that's what we're doing now with this other new brand we're doing. We're very clear why this product will be different. We're very clear. And as soon as we started, I said, let's go and see the factory. You've got to get out to the factory. We were lucky with Pinky Goat at first that we were able to get the brand off without a factory visit because we're stuck in Saudi. But my goodness, now my first thing is straight to the factory. Go and see them. Invest a couple of $1,000s to see the people. I call it making 4 eyes. Go and see them. Let them see that you're a brand and they need to take care of you, that you want something different. Too many people copy-paste nowadays. They copy-paste. They go to a factory and they say, we can do that. Any packaging you want. But it's the same product.
Yes.
How
yes.
can you make it a little bit different? Add one ingredient, add something. Let it be a USP. Without
Yes.
a USP, you're just fighting on price.
Yeah.
You know, and
then it's a race to the
the
bottom.
retailers know, race to the bottom. The buyers know what is good and bad as well. They know whether that's a differentiating product or not.
Yes.
And I think you just have to be obsessed with having a USP. Without that, don't even come to the game. You won't. You may be good in a local market, but you won't get international. And I think going back to the international thing, you have to think how you take your brand from. Because we were Pinky Goat, Middle Eastern brand, but how did we sort of adapt it to work in the UK or others? Yes, you have to have Euro packaging and this packaging and that. You can't use certain graphics. You have to. When we first launched, our best-selling line were mink eyelashes. Mink.
Yes.
Because that's what people wanted in the Middle East. And I'm saying, oh my God, we're going to go and talk to Superdrug. We need to stop selling mink as a company. And we were saying, we can't. It's all our money. I said, but we've got to. We need to go vegan. And this is a long time ago. And we dropped overnight our best-selling lines because we knew fundamentally we couldn't grow internationally with having that.
Yes.
You know, people still sell mink eyelashes in the Middle East. You can go into Sephora here, you'll find mink eyelashes. But in most of the world, you know, you've got to go with what people deem to be right or wrong, and we decided we had to become a vegan brand. And actually, great, at the time, USP. Well, hey, that was one of them. And we'll play on that, and we'll play on all the other things. You know, but we had to be different in some way. Look, feel, packaging. How can you change it a little bit? You know, when we launched, we didn't have hooks, but then we said we need to have hooks. Okay, quickly change on hooks, so we were evolving all the time. When we had a lockdown, we thought our sales went down overnight. Of course, we're based in Dubai. All the rest of the world closed down.
Yeah.
We said, what are we going to do? There was no government support. We had nothing. We were literally, we had all our staff. They couldn't go anywhere. We had to pay them. There was no government money for anything. What can we do? And we said, well, you have a choice. We adapt or we go home. So the first thing we did was we developed a line which was just for use for people on Zoom calls. It was designed for quick. So we did it, and so we promoted this. This is designed for calls and this and that a bit. So we did that. We quickly introduced another brand as well. We introduced Aisha, which was going to be everything about it was going to be pure. It was made from recycled PET. I wanted something made from recycled PET. We decided we're going to have a brand of eyelashes which was going to be absolutely different. And we managed to get that internationally as well.
Wow.
But that was going to be quickly. But even that wasn't enough during COVID, so we decided we'll do some distribution. And I grabbed a brand called Dashing Diva it was a Korean brand. I think it's in Australia, Dashing Diva it is. It's a press-on nail brand. We decided to be their distributor for the Middle East, just to keep things going. So I think even though you have a journey, you have a business, you've got to take action along the way, and you have to keep reinventing yourselves to stay both relevant and just to survive those blips, because some of them you can't plan. But I know if unless we took those actions, we could have closed down. But luckily we came out of COVID great. The markets were strong. We had some good brands then. The brands we'd use the time to come out strong, and we came out fighting quick. I think the whole of Dubai came out fighting quick because everyone was desperate then. So I think our lockdown here was comparatively small, But we were, the government here was very quick to say push, push, push,
Yeah.
which helped.
Yes, thank God. Well, we didn't have that, but we were locked down for nearly a year, like 360 something days or whatever. But anyway, I won't go on about that, even though it
I think
triggers me.
we were 6 weeks.
Okay.
6 weeks we were back open.
It's better than 50. Yeah. So Richard, this has been seriously a lesson in retail and also in distribution. It's also been a lesson in sales and really about being prepared and helping other people to help you. So if you want somebody to do the selling on your behalf, you've got to make it really, really easy for them, help them visualize it and be advocates, be raving fans of the brand so that they can take that forward. What's next for you?
Well, I'm not stopping. At the moment, I'm happily. I enjoy developing brands. I love it.
Yes.
I'm working with Joelle, who's a fabulous person, and we're developing some brands with her. She wants to take them internationally, so of course we're going back to the basics.
Amazing.
How to make our brands relevant, because they're not right today to go international.
Okay.
They're great for local, but to be international. You've got to tick all the boxes on the pricing, the packaging. Do you understand, what price I need to sell it to be competitive in South Africa compared to Australia, compared to Germany? You've got to do your research. If you want to be an international brand, if you want to be a local brand, fine, there's no issue. But if you want to be a bigger brand, you have to start to plan it right from the start. The good thing now, which wasn't 5 years ago, is AI. Yes. AI can do so much of that information. I can say, tell me the prices for this particular category in all these countries by retailer, and it produces it. So you can very quickly get the research you need to make informed decisions. And I am the world. I use Perplexity. That's my AI of choice. Perplexity.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I love it. I use it every day. I was looking at another brand for someone yesterday, and literally within an hour yesterday, I had a whole brand. We knew the USPs of it. We were doing it. I was onto Canva, looking at possible things. The opportunities AI can help you to make those background. And anyone who's not using AI like Perplexity, you are being left behind. I'm 60 years old. It's dead simple. If you ask the right questions, it gives you beautiful answers. You have to validate those answers, because AI makes mistakes. Perplexity sometimes, it gives me answers. I'm thinking, that can't be right. So it's important you do know some of the subject matters. You have to be able to quantify and just say, is it right? But the base information is very powerful. And I think, going back to the initial question, I'm developing brands. I'm also doing working on a multi-brand fashion platform for the Middle East, which we're hoping to launch later this year. We just, once again, it should be very exciting, and hopefully that will be a very nice brand. So so that's it. But it's great, and I think if you go back to the initial thing about retailing, you never turn off the lights. You never ever get there. And that's half the fun and half the frustration, half the passion about being in retail. You never ever get there. You're as good as your last day's sales, your last week's sales, your last year's sales, and repeat. And it's that continual drive every year to be better, to find ways to be better, to find ways to be successful. That's what I think you learn with retailing. And I think retailers are probably some of the strongest managers in the world. If you can run a retail business, you can run anything, because you are always looking for ways and to find solutions. And it's half the fun. And you meet nice people as well, which is half the passion as well. And I think my final thing I would say, what do I want to do now? I want to do things for the heart rather than the head. I think years ago you did things for the head rather than the heart sometimes. Now I can decide what I want to do. I can work with good people, because I want to work with good people. I want to
Yeah.
be able to decide who I want to work with, because that's half the fun, is sitting down with somebody and saying, let's do something, great, and that passion and energy. And I think, yeah, doing things for the heart rather than the head, that's my sort of focus now. No matter
Absolutely
what it is, I can sell anything, but I want to work with good people.
I know.
And I'm being
You know
kicked out
what
of
I
this
love?
room, so I need to go.
I mean, the thing that I absolutely love is that none of the energy's left you in 30 years or whatever, or 28 years or however long it's been. None of that energy's gone anywhere. And in fact, you've just continued to redirect that for really positive gains. Richard, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you again, speaking with you and listening to what has been an absolute lesson in retail.
Well, Ingrid, it's been fabulous to see you again, okay? And continued great luck. Honestly, it's really great. Far too long. And how can it be 30 years? We're still in our 40s. How can it be so long?
Exactly. Don't tell anyone, Richard. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And we will absolutely catch up. Yeah.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, you've been listening to The Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard. And to find out how the Sales Doctor can help your organisation to transform its revenue, growth and profit, visit us on our website at www.thesalesdoctor.com.au. I look forward to your company next episode. Bye for now.